Bang bang, it's your boy MBK, the action guy in the building. Today we're talking about the Prestige with my lovely co-host Connor, aka Movie Shark. Feel free to introduce yourself, my man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm very excited. I think you and I both are a lot higher on the prestige than a lot of people.
Yeah.
But a little bit about myself, I guess, to introduce is, Movie Shark. It's, exactly what it sounds like. I talk about movies and sharks. I've always had a deep passion for both. Um, Actually, I'm announcing it here first instead of on my podcast.
Whoa.
I just started a YouTube channel too. Um, right now, just some short videos, but I do want to do some long form content on more sharks than movies over there. So, Movie Shark everywhere is where you can find me.
All
And
right,
then
sounds good.
my podcast, Goodwill Podcasting as well, if you want to check that out.
Yeah, maybe I'll be on it one day. We'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyways, man, my first question about the Prestige. Oh, by the way, I'll put all socials in the description. My bad. Before I
perfect.
get into yeah, there we go. My bad. Anyways, my first question is what is your first memory of Prestige? Do you have a first memory of this movie?
Not really. So, actually, funny enough, when I was, doing my podcast last year, I lost my first two co-hosts. Had a few of my like close friends on. My wife was on an episode, and then I found Real Takes Dan, who's my one of my co-hosts now, and him and I, when he first started, we did a Tarantino episode, and then the second episode we ever did together was Christopher Nolan ranking. So I watched The Prestige for the first time to get ready for that episode. And by far and away at that time was my highest rated Christopher Nolan. And then I saw Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about Prestige and Oppenheimer, their dialogue is like really focused, and I think that what drives this movie. Both of their movies do add so much stakes to it. I mean, they're very different movies, but it showcases how creative Christopher Nolan is. Because Nolan has his own style, but he has his own story behind it, if that makes sense. His own unique ideas that makes it feel different from each of his films. And I think that's what makes Nolan one of the best directors working today is the unique ideas it brings to the table.
Yeah, I think Nolan's definitely a top three director in today's day and age. Still working. Above him, I have Scorsese. Obviously, I mean we have to recognize his game. But then I also have Denis Villeneuve above
Yeah.
Nolan, which is like a hot take. But
Yeah. I mean, it's close though, because
yeah,
Denis and Nolan both deliver bangers. I think they're directors that respect each other too, so you
yeah,
can't really hate the game on them. I think for me, they're equal in the same par right now. I cannot say Nolan's better or Denis better because like they both bring so many great ideas on paper. Like we're talking about Prestige being such an interesting movie based around magic and obsession and all that, especially right in the opening, it gets hooked, tells the audience to look closely, and it's like blank you miss moment kind of thing. And you could see that in Blade Runner 2049. Is similar aesthetics, if you
yeah. I
will.
think I just hold Denis a little higher. Because I'm a little, I don't know. I think I'm a little more harsh on Nolan films, but some of them just don't resonate with me as much. Like I'm not as high on the Dark Knight as everyone else. I actually like Batman Begins better. Um, I think Dark Knight sits in my sixth or seventh spot in my Nolan rankings.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about Dark Knight is, it's very, very carried by Heath Ledger's Joker.
Yeah,
I don't think Christian Bale is not a very good Batman. That may be a hot take, but
I'm
he's
with you.
great. He's a great Bruce Wayne, but as a Batman, his voice didn't do anything for me. His action was subpar, like compared to
Yeah,
Robert Pattinson. I mean, yeah,
yeah. On the topic of like Denis and Nolan, though, you can definitely like put their filmography side by side, and it's very similar. Both doing sci-fi, both doing a crime movie, both doing like a war esque movie. Like
yeah.
they're very similar. in there,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it shows how diverse these directors are, being Denny and Christopher Nolan, because they're willing to try different things. And you don't see a lot of directors taking that risk. And
Yeah.
I heard Nolan's probably doing like I don't know, is a vampire movie he's working on with Tom Holland? We
That
don't know.
that was the rumor for a while, but I guess it's kind of confirmed now that it's gonna be almost like a buddy cop helicopter movie.
Okay, that's different. Nolan never
Yeah.
done that. I mean, I'm down for it. I mean,
There's
Nolan loves the Fast and Furious movies. Why not get him direct one?
I'm with him.
I'm with that.
Well, apparently he's stealing, like, pretty heavy, like, influence from a movie in the '80s. I'm blanking on the title of it now, but it's, like, high on my watch list now just to see, what he saw in that movie to get the inspiration.
Yeah.
And, like,
Uh,
what Nolan does have over Denis, though, is, like, he's very good at making a twist in his movies. Like, in The
yeah.
Prestige, there's what, like, 5 different twists?
Yeah. Like, okay. So speaking of Prestige, what was your favorite twist? Since we're talking about twists right now, what was your favorite twist in this movie, man?
My favorite?
I know that's a hard question to go for.
Yeah. That's that's a loaded question. It I even though we see it coming the most, I might say Hugh Jackman, like, his character having a double at the end, and
Yeah.
that's how he was able to, like, kill himself.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like with the water, like drowning from the water from one of the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, because I mean, like, obviously, like, that was the one that we saw coming the most because of learning when he was with Tesla, like, his hat wasn't it was staying there, but it was teleporting a brand new identical
Yeah.
hat to a different location.
Exactly, and
So, like
I like the fact that that's a full circle moment from the beginning of the film because it paints Christian Bale's character as the bad guy, but it was Hugh Jackman being the villain the whole time. I think that was such a brilliant way to do it, and it's
you could spin it that they're both antagonists
yeah.
because they both do really shitty things to one another.
For example, Hugh Jackman's wife getting killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad. That's what sparked the rivalry between the characters, and I thought that was really awesome to see the character of Hugh Jackman just breaking down and become obsessed with like trying outsmart Christian Bale and having so much layers to the rivalry, making it super interesting is something magical about this film. Speaking of magic, it is magic.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Have you seen all of Nolan's filmography?
Only one I have not seen is The Falling and Memento, but those are the
Okay.
only two I need to check out.
So The Following is my lowest rated Nolan. Um, but it's his directorial debut, and you can see like the aspects of Nolan there, but it's nothing really special and it's a little forgettable, but it's still worth the watch. And then Memento, I really enjoy. So for the audience that's listening in, this is gonna be a really hot take. And after you watch Memento, this will be a hot take for you to come back on. But I think The Prestige is Christopher Nolan's nonlinear storytelling at its best.
I can kind of see it. Because like even like the complexity comes with the magic, but if we realistically think about it, it's a very simple story about two magicians trying to outsmart each other, sparking that rivalry. And I see what you mean, not linear, because it's a simple story behind the magic if you
Yeah,
realistically think about it.
absolutely. But yeah, so I don't know if you know much about Memento, but pretty much the whole like summary of it is there's this guy whose wife was killed and he has very short-term memory. So he's getting like tattoos and he has a Polaroid camera that he takes notes on to remember stuff when he wakes up.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I need to get on that as soon as possible
Well,
because
and I read something that Nolan directed the film backwards, basically, and
backward.
then pieced it together how he wanted. So none of the cast even knew how the movie was going to turn out till they watched it.
Yeah, that just shows the brilliant mind of Nolan. Like, make a movie feel like a puzzle, something really interesting. Speaking of Prestige, it felt like a puzzle piece. And you like you're trying to like puzzle the pieces together on what these magicians are going to do next. Um, Obviously, the things I enjoy was like the teleportation stuff that that Christian Bale does first, and then Hugh Jackman's character gets obsessed with that, is trying to figure out how he did it, and having a conversation, and I just like that. It just shows that he's so obsessed that he's willing to steal things from his rival, essentially.
Well, yeah, and like we even see the lengths he went to it, finding a double that, obviously didn't work out for him. And then going to the lengths of traveling, across the globe to go meet Nikola Tesla. Speaking of which, I just watched this for the first time. What was that? August of last year.
Yeah.
And so this is only my second time watching this to get ready to talk about it with you. I completely forgot that Andy Serkis was in this movie.
Right, me too. And I'm like, where was any circus in this film? He's
Yeah.
doing a great job though, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, one of my favorite, like, maybe side characters in this entire film is the, like, front desk worker at the hotel in America.
Yeah.
And I loved, like, how they're kind of hinting at a rivalry between Tesla and Thomas Edison the whole
Yeah.
time. And then as he's checking out of the hotel, he's like, "I didn't find it necessary to tell Edison's, team about the box." He's like, "What box are you talking about?" And he goes and reveals that Tesla has actually finished this project for him.
Yeah. I mean, Nikola Tesla, like speaking of Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk pretty much stole all of his ideas and just made them trash, by the way. But Nikola Tesla, as a scientist, if you look into his stuff, guy was super smart, dude. Like,
Yeah, I did a little research on him back in high school. I honestly kinda wanna dive back down that rabbit hole, because he was, like, part of that era of, like, just, like, true inventors and, like,
yeah.
stuff, like, really just turning the pages of history.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like if Nikola Tesla was alive right now, like I would like society would be so much better the way he was like creating things. Like the Wi-Fi would be so much better and everything would be so much better. I don't know.
We'd have the 3rd Spider-Verse movie already,
Exactly, man. Like well, and then there's Elon Musk just like shitting on his name basically. I don't like what he's doing with Tesla's like,
I think Teslas
yeah.
are one of the I'm not a car guy by any means, like, people make fun of me all the time. Like, I'm a truck guy, but, like, I don't need the biggest, fanciest truck. Like I said, my dream truck was like it's like the 1974 edition of the Toyota Tundra. And someone was like, "Dude, that's not even that nice of a car." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care. I just want the truck and it's gonna get me from point A to point B and get the stuff done that I need done." Like,
Yeah.
but I think Teslas are like some of the ugliest cars on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Elon Musk is, I don't know, man. It's not, holding the weight of the legacy of Nikola Tesla and just puts a bitter mouth, like bad taste in my mouth because of that
The
reason.
only way he could kinda redeem that is if he could get to Mars.
Maybe.
Well, if he's like the first guy to get to Mars, then we have to give him his flowers, like
Just watch The Martian, figure it out. um, Actually, one of my favorite scenes in this movie was when the little kid was crying when Christian Bale essentially kills the bird. And it's like,
Yeah.
you killed it, you crushed it. And then Bale's character comes up with the bird. It's like, no, it's alive. And then next scene, it's like a dead bird right there.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm sorry. My daughter is waking up.
Okay, no problem, man.
I'll come back though.
All right. So meanwhile, he's on break. My first time experiencing Prestige was during 2020 during the pandemic, and I was seeing this movie alone because I have nobody to see movies with, and I was just mind blown on how much Christopher Nolan did with the magic aspects of this film. The rivalry between the characters, Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, were both really excellent in this movie. Especially during the end of the film, especially with that fact that Christian Bale's character was about to get killed and does a last minute magic trick and kills Hugh Jackman. I thought that was a great twist, especially with the old man that we've seen in the film being a double ganger of the character Christopher Christian Bale's character. I thought that was fantastic in this film. I just like the fact that another thing I like about this movie is Hugh Jackman's whole spiel, being obsessed with the electric trick that he's doing, especially with how the model is trying to get through it. And I like the opening dialogue at this film when Michael Caine saying there's three stages in the magic trick. The last one ends with the prestige because making something disappear won't, hype up the audience. It'll be silent, and making that thing come back uh makes the audience go wow. I thought that was a great piece of dialogue in this film. Another thing I like is the way that Hugh Jackman's character just becomes so obsessed to make Scarlett Johansson's character just be a spy for Christian Bale. And I thought that whole rivalry and relationship just tumbles to the dirt in a really interesting, captivating way. But you also have the heart to heart moments between Christian Bale and his daughter in this film, being some cute moments in this movie, especially with the red ball. I thought that was really, 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 really great stuff by Christopher Nolan. And I think Christopher Nolan just does an excellent job making this film very laser focused, interesting script. The dialogue just hits in the right moments. I haven't talked about the score of this movie. I think the score really elevates the scenes, and the performances all around in this movie is so great. And it's definitely a Christopher Nolan movie that I feel like it's kind of underrated. Not a lot of people talk about the Prestige so highly as much as I love it. The magic stuff is great. The rivalry stuff is fantastic. The dialogue is really strong in this film. I mean, it's just a really, really fantastic movie that I wish more people talk about. Um, but like, I appreciate this movie so much because of all those elements. But if I want to say my favorite Christian Bale movie, Christopher Nolan movie is probably Inception. So, the dreams of reality stuff in this movie was so interesting, and the way they shot some of the fight scenes was so incredibly well put together. And the performances from Leo and everyone in that cast, my oh my, it's mind blowing. But his recent work, Oppenheimer, was really solid too. I mean, make a 3 hour movie about a atomic bomb from Robert Oppenheimer and making it a dialogue so focused, and essentially 3 hour movie of dialogue is so impressive to um make engaging and make you feel like you're part of this whole film. And I think that's another really interesting thing to do, especially with the atomic bomb test scene. The silence that he uses during that set piece, and then the explosion happens, made me jump into IMAX theater. And it shows how Christopher Nolan knows when to use sound and when not to use sound. And I think the Prestige does a great job at that too, because there's some moments where it gets silent and gets loud. When Hugh Jackman's character gets shot, before that, it's pretty much silent. And then Christopher Nolan has this bang of a gunshot, and you feel that gunshot towards the Hugh Jackman's character for a bullet for Christian Bale. And I think that is another great element of this film. I enjoyed the low bullet catch stuff that they were talking about, and when Christian Bale's character finally does it, he gets pranked into getting shot by Chris. What's up, man? You're back.
Yeah,
Cool.
sorry about that.
I was talking about how there was a full circle moment in this film when Hugh Jackman shoots Christian Bale, like in the midway point, and then that goes around when Christian Bale shoots Hugh Jackman during the end
Yeah.
of the film, and I just want your thoughts on that. Because I thought that was excellent.
Yeah, no, that was brilliantly filmed. It's almost that's actually one of my maybe complaints on this movie though, is because like obviously both of these guys are very intelligent and they're building their own craft. They're both very confident, very good on stage. And you would just think after so many times that you would start to like have your team members really look at the audience members that they're picking to come up for these,
Oh yeah,
events or like tricks or like whatever you want to call it and whatever they're doing in that scene and like notice if it's the guy that they've had this rivalry with that have tried to kill each other multiple times. It's like
yeah.
one of my big complaints, but like even that it doesn't take away from the movie for me that much.
Exactly. I mean, I guess they're sort of wearing disguises, but even then, you could tell
Yeah.
who's who.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too. Like if you think about the disguises part, the big reveal at the end that Christian Bale has a twin and that they've been disguising him to look like this other guy the entire time. Wouldn't he be able to make himself look a lot different for these disguises to go kill Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, I mean,
Or was he making himself look recognizable just to Hugh Jackman on purpose to mentally mess with him?
I think it's just a mental game to mess with him and make Hugh Jackman go crazy during this film, which logically would make sense in this rivalry.
Yeah,
But like in the end, when you see that twin and you really see closely, you can really tell it's Christian Bale the whole time.
yeah.
Like,
No,
yeah,
I mean that's fair. And I do think part of Alfred's character, Christian Bale's character, is to just psychologically break Hugh Jackman.
yeah, and I think he does that really well in his film, and just slowly break them apart. But essentially, they're two terrible characters, to be
Yeah,
honest.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, you cannot really root for one or the other.
Yeah.
But like, even then, they have interesting dynamics because Alfred, Christian Bale's character, has a daughter and a wife, so you understand that a little bit. But you understand Hugh Jackman's character's point of view because he lost his wife, so it's like you understand why they're doing it. They're terrible characters, but you have an understanding of them.
Yeah. Little trivia for you. Do you know who plays um
Oh no,
Alfred's daughter?
no, I don't actually.
It's Christopher Nolan's daughter.
Oh, I couldn't guess that. I should have guessed that.
um, one of the things I wanted to ask you when we were getting ready to do this in the beginning, obviously, us as the audience know that he tied the or what he thought was the right knot, but tied the wrong knot that killed Hugh Jackman's wife in this.
Yeah.
Do you think that psychologically, because he did just kill someone for what we can assume is the first time ever, psychologically, he just cannot remember what knot he tied? Or do you think he's too afraid to admit that to Hugh Jackman?
I think he's too afraid to admit that because he doesn't want to show that he made a mistake, right?
Yeah.
And but like again, it's such a dick move for not telling him, "Oh, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Your wife died." Like if he apologized, the movie would have ended so much quicker. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Which I looked it up when I stepped away to take care of my daughter. Um, there is 146 different time jumps in this movie.
146.
Yeah. Like,
What?
that's insane. And like not like to the point where like, we jumped from, Hugh Jackman's wife dying to then going into the future and seeing where they are now. Like that's obviously one time jump, but like some of them are just like, it's a conversation between Bale and his wife, and then it jumps like, maybe a day later to Jackman talking to Scarlett Johansson's character, then it jumps back to Bale and his wife's conversation that we were already witnessing.
Yeah,
But still, like that's an insane amount of time jumps.
I know. So what do you think the red ball symbolizes in this film? That's another question I had.
I I don't know if it symbolizes too much unless I'm not reading into it enough. I really think it's just another way for Bale to psychologically mess with Jackman. Because of that, like his, what is it called? The teleporting man
Yeah,
or the
Teleport
Vanisher
man.
Man, whatever
Yeah,
it is. I think because obviously that's like the big part of the trick is he bounces the ball and it keeps bouncing until his twin comes out of the other door and catches it.
yeah,
So and because Bale has this trick that Hugh Jackman has gone to like such lengths in order to perfect or make better and make it his own. But he still knows deep down like Bale is better. And he admits that to him in the end. He's like, "We all know you're the better magician."
yeah.
And so I think it's like that red ball is just symbolizing like, "Hey, I'm still better than you," especially when he kind of bounces it to him at the end when he gets shot and
Yeah.
eventually does get killed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, but I just love that symbolism in the film. But I feel like it also symbolizes his love for his daughter too in the film. I think it goes both ways. Because he technically does give the red ball to his daughter a couple
Yeah.
times, right? Yeah. So I feel like it symbolizes, oh, I love my daughter, but I'm also better than you. So I think it's both things.
Yeah. One thing upon this rewatch too that I just forgot how much I loved my first time watching because obviously no matter what movie it is, no matter how good the twist is, no twist will hold up as well upon rewatch. Like it just will never have the same shock value as a first time watch. But with that being said, one of my favorite things about this, because my reaction the first time I watched it was how many times his wife throughout this movie says, "I feel like sometimes you love me and the other half you don't."
Oh
And
yes,
that makes the twist at the end that he has a twin that much better.
yeah, because it's like a two-faced kind of thing. Like he has a twin to do the dirty work, and he's just living his normal life. It's like a two-faced kind of thing, which is interesting because I feel like some of the conversations with his wife wasn't him; it was the twin as well. So I
Yeah.
think,
Well, and that's what he was saying too at the end. He was like, "We played each other sometimes." So, like, truly, one half of the time he did love his wife. And then that brings in one thing I wish they would have done more too is like, and it could even been one line and make it towards the end, but make Scarlett Johansson's character say the same line. Like, I feel like you only love me half the time, and kind of add that one
yeah,
more notch right before the reveal.
yeah. I mean, they did underutilize Scarlett Johansson, to be honest. I feel like they could have done a little more with her character.
They did and they didn't. I do feel like she played the role well, which like I'm not like, the biggest ScarJo fan, but I also don't have any issues with her. I don't think I've seen her in anything like bad. Well, I've seen bad moves with her in it. Just she wasn't bad in the movie.
Yeah, okay.
um, but in this one, like my biggest takeaway is like, is she also a bad person?
Yeah, especially with like Hugh Jackman's character, like, can you be my spy? Like that stuff was kind of
Yeah, so,
iffy.
like, is she the bad person because he kinda forced her hand to go spend all this time with him, and, like, I'm not saying every time, but, like, a lot of the times when you have 2 people of kind of very similar, mindsets and, like, aspirations, and you put them together for so much time together, there is a chance feelings will come.
Exactly, and it's like a backstab move on her to Hugh Jackman's character because, well, she mostly sided with Christian Bale's character way more than Hugh Jackman's character during the film. So, like that's another thing that just kind of went to Hugh Jackman's character.
Yeah, well, and, like, so that's why I kept thinking about it, I'm like, is she bad for that? Or is, like, she's kind of doing what anyone else would do, and then at the same time, she saw just how crazy Hugh Jackman's character was and, like, his insanity and the lengths he was willing to go to just to beat this man, and
Yeah,
then, like, at the end of the day, like, Christian Bale is arguably the more sane of the 2,
yeah.
and so she was just with someone who was calmer and better at his craft.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to choose the better man in the end of the day. So it kind of makes sense, but I don't know. Does it make her a bad person to choose the person that's less sane or the guy who's more insane? Like,
I mean, it just depends, and, like, like, it's what they talked about with Tesla, like, he's obsessed, and, obsession can lead to horrible things like we see in this movie and we see it destroy Tesla. Obviously not nearly to the extent that it destroys Jackman in this movie. Like you can pick out anything in, actual history, not movie history, and see where obsession has hurt people.
yeah.
So I
Um,
think ScarJo made the right choice, but then one thing I don't think they actually let us know at the end of the movie was which one of the twins survived, and is it the one that loves his wife or the one that loves ScarJo?
oh yeah, that's another yeah. So many questions come out of this movie.
I
Like,
I wanna say it's the one that loves his wife because he does go and, like, get his daughter after that,
yeah,
and I it kind of hints that he's gonna go, like, with his wife and stuff, so
yeah, I think you're right with that one for sure. Another thing I didn't mention yet is when they use the cat for like the electricity test subject with that machine, and Hugh Jackman goes out and sees cats everywhere with like black cats. I
yeah.
I thought that was interesting to show that the machine was working the whole time. Um, Another brilliant way to show how the movie opens with the hat, like the magic hats all over the place towards like the midway point of the film. I thought that was another clever thing in this film that I want to add into this conversation.
Yeah, no, that was a brilliant opening. And again, like I said earlier on this, that this is what I think is Christopher Nolan's nonlinear storytelling at its best, because we open with the end, and I love when a movie does that and does it well.
Yeah,
Because I can't think of an example off the top of my head right now. If let me pull up my letterbox or give me like another day to think about it, I could probably come up with one. But there's been movies I've seen that try to do that, and it doesn't hit.
yeah.
But you put it into directors' films like Christopher Nolan, and it's gonna hit.
Low key, bro. Like John Wick did the same thing. The first John Wick movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Um,
Because you see John Wick injured in the beginning of the film, and you're like, well, how did he get there? And then it just goes full circle towards the end. That's the first one that popped on my mind
yeah,
for some reason.
dude, the
Yeah,
John Wick franchise is dope. I love
yeah,
the John Wick
yeah.
franchise.
Um, we haven't talked about Michael Caine's character that much. You want to add in your 2 cents for that?
I mean, is there much else to say other than it's Michael Caine? He's fucking great in everything he does.
Yeah, but
Uh,
like I think what drives you into his performance is like the opening dialogue that he's like talking about. Oh, there's like I forgot what it means. Like the three stages of the mid like the magic tricks. I forgot what stage one and two and third one were. I mean third one was the prestige, obviously, that the person has to come back or the thing has to come back, and the second one being like the thing disappearing, and that whole opening dialogue just really points in the right direction of this film, makes you feel a part of the environment right off rip, and just it just works because of Michael Caine's incredible like narration.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, along with that, like I'm a big dialogue guy when it comes to movies. Like if you have a good script, like that's gonna draw me in more than anything else in a movie. I think that's why talking about Tarantino, I have Hateful Eight as his third best movie, and I'm in the vast minority. A lot of people don't have that in his top five, let alone top three. But a good dialogue will get me every time. So I think Michael Caine executes so well here, and I love the fact that not only like in the beginning they're in a court room, obviously, trying to put a man on death row, and Michael Caine is not willing to give up this information that could send this man to death row because he's a businessman, and he's
Yeah,
like, I can sell this and make a profit. He's like,
yeah,
I can't just give up the trick to this room full of everyone. And the judge is like, well, can you give it to me and I can kind of make a decision? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. But what I love more about that too is, the scene where Hugh Jackman's in a bar drinking and he sees a card on the bottom of his beer glass and it's Michael Caine. And he makes a comment that I'm not going to get word for word, but he's basically like, there's not a lot of guys who will hire the guy who killed, the stage assistant. He's
yeah.
like, unless they know the real story. and Hugh Jackman's the only one that knows the real story. So that's what I love about Michael Caine's character in this movie is how well he delivers every line, his knowledge of the craft. It almost like it feels very believable that Michael Caine studied magic for a long time. I don't know if he did, but it feels like he studied magic for a very long time to get ready for this role.
Yeah, I 100% agree because Michael Caine, every single scene, I think he does the best part of every scene he's in, and he's just a legend, like in the acting game. Like if you have Michael Caine in the movie, he's most likely going to be the best part of the film.
Oof.
I know that's a hot take. I know. I know.
That's a hot take.
I
I'm
I,
gonna
I,
disagree with you, but I mean, like, I'm not gonna say Michael Caine is bad in anything he's in. I would never say that, um, given I haven't seen his whole filmography. But there's definitely some. He steals the show, and you can argue he's the best in The Prestige. Um, but yeah,
I mean, I feel like he's the glue of the film that puts everything together, and I think he delivers probably the best performance in there. I mean, because like Bale and Hugh Jackman's performance are very similar in the sense that they're both trying to get revenge on each other for different reasons, obviously, but it's a very similar arc for both characters and performance wise. Well, at
yeah,
least in my eyes. And you see Michael Caine just having such a interesting dynamics because he has to make a decision between being on Hugh Jackman's side or Christian Bale's side, and it just elevates what he's trying to do in such a different level. And I think just he delivers that so well in the film.
yeah. One of the things that I was like thinking about too when I finished this movie, and have you seen Denis' movie Prisoners?
Yeah, Prisoners, 100%.
So
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
yeah.
Um, and when I like was watching The Prestige yesterday and thinking about Prisoners as well, one of my favorite things in this whole world that we love talking about in movies is when someone is in a comic book movie so many times back to back, but then they can also act outside of comic book movies like Hugh Jackman can. Because like for a long time, I only knew him as Wolverine. I hadn't seen pretty much any other Hugh Jackman movie other than The Greatest Showman up until about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I started kind of diving more into it. You know, The Prestige, um, Prisoners, a few others, and then like I look at guys like Chris Evans, who is
Oh
just on like
God.
an abysmal run of movies right now. He's had like 8 bad movies back to back. Like it's horrible.
I mean, I don't think Chris Evans is even a good actor, to be honest.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is like I love when an actor can do something outside of their typecast. Like Hugh Jackman, like he's phenomenal in this. He's amazing in Prisoners. But then Chris Evans, there's a reason he's going back to Marvel right now.
Yeah, because I don't think he's a good actor. Like he's not diverse. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And like I was happy to see Robert Downey Jr. can still act after the MCU because in Oppenheimer he was unbelievable.
Yeah,
But Chris Evans, he was decent in Knives Out. I'll give him that. But that was 5 years ago
yeah,
and he hasn't done anything. I haven't seen Red One yet, but I've not heard good things.
yeah. But like speaking of Hugh Jackman is he's a person that can actually act, and I feel like if he gets the right role, he's gonna win. He's gonna win an Oscar. It's gonna happen
Yeah,
eventually, sooner than later.
absolutely. And like one of the things that feels so natural, I think, about this performance in The Prestige for Hugh Jackman is I'm sure you know, but the audience might not, that he started as a stage actor. And I
Yeah,
think he was on Broadway. So like just him being on stage in this movie, it felt very natural
yeah,
and it didn't seem like anything was forced. And like that's what Hugh Jackman brings to a lot of the movies he's in is he never feels like he's phoning in a performance. He feels like he gives everything his all, which I love
yeah.
about him.
Yeah, like Prisoner is easily his best performance in my opinion.
I'm with you.
Like the raw anger he brings basically wants his daughters back is so like you feel that anger. It's like, damn, this guy's on a mission, right? Like,
Yeah.
when Chris Evans is angry, I feel nothing. I don't know. It's like
And I can get behind Chris Evans being angry when he's Captain America
yeah,
because like he's I'm not going to discredit Chris Evans. He's like the perfect role for Captain America, or the perfect person for Captain America. He looks the part. He plays him phenomenally. But like we said, outside of the MCU, Chris Evans is not a very good actor.
Yeah, but like I was going to say the same about Tom Holland, but he got casted in an Nolan project, so
Yeah.
hopefully that is the push that he needs because right now Chris Evans and Tom Holland are just going the same path right now, and it's,
Yeah, which is really funny because for a while I've been saying I want Tom Holland to be in something outside of the MCU so we can actually see if he's about that.
yeah, I
Because
mean,
like him and Timothy Chalamet, are right around the same age and like they're just having vastly different careers right now. Like Timothy Chalamet is like the hottest actor currently working, hottest young actor currently working. And I mean that in both the physical and the mental sense. It's a good looking dude.
yeah, you got that right. But like even Zendaya is doing better than Tom Holland,
Yeah.
which is like.
Well, and like, yeah, I mean, she's absolutely crushing it. And given I wasn't the biggest fan of Challengers, but she was very good in that.
Well,
Um,
I wasn't the biggest fan of Challengers, but I thought her performance was fantastic too.
yeah,
I mean,
dude, you're the first person that hasn't like reprimanded me for saying I'm not a big fan of Challengers.
I mean, here's the thing about Challengers: the music's great, but I just never got hooked to the story whatsoever. I mean, I wasn't invested. I mean, I don't care about this third wheel, whatever
Yeah,
love triangle BS they're trying to throw in there. I mean,
my thing with Challengers is like Luca Guadagnino, I really enjoy as a director. Um, and I think some of the shots in Challengers were absolutely stunning. Like that final tennis match was beautiful. But my thing was every time I did start to get pulled into the story, they were like, here's an ad break. Because, dude, there was so much advertisement for Rolex, Apple,
oh,
Chanel.
I
And,
know.
and I get it in the tennis world. There's a lot of advertisements. It's the same way with the golf world. I'm a golfer. And like, I'd be fine with it if it was like only tennis advertisements like Wilson, Penn, stuff like that. There was no need for Rolex, Apple, Coke was everywhere. Nike, I think there was even Under Armour at one point.
Yeah,
Chanel, we didn't need all of it. And it was just slapped in our face over and over. And I was like, Luca, you are a big enough director. You don't need to get sponsors like this. And
yeah.
so every time it was just like a Coke can slid right in front of the camera, it took me out of the movie.
Yeah, I mean that was another gripe I have with challengers. I mean, it's well made. I'll give it that. The performance is great. I could get into the story. I'm sorry, this it wasn't my cup of tea. I
Yeah.
mean,
And like that's the nice part about this whole world that we love with movies is we can all look at them and have difference of opinions. You just have to find the right people to not, tell you you're a moron for having a difference of opinion and
yeah,
actually be like, I hear what you're saying. Here's why I disagree, and then we can be friends at the end of it.
yeah, like me and you having a civil conversation on Prestige. This is great, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's a movie that we both love, but even if it's a movie we disagree with, we'll still have a civil conversation, right?
Yeah. And that's why I like, the co-hosts that I have on my podcast too are like, well, if it was all of us here, I'd say our podcast. Yeah, I don't want to sound that selfish. But, like, I mean, it is rare. I actually think the last episode we did was the first time ever that we all ranked everything the same.
Oh wow, that's
Y-
impressive.
it was our 1 year anniversary episode. And so we did it based around Goodwill Hunting since we're Goodwill podcasting. And we did a Robin Williams themed episode, and it was like the first time ever across the board we all rated everything the same.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's something really rare. Yeah, you're right about that. Um, Speaking of prestige, how would you rank this in your like Christopher Nolan ranking? Like, will it be top five or
This is a hot take on my end. It sits in my number two.
number two?
And
Okay.
one of the things that will really help a movie score for me is its rewatchability. And frankly, I think this has a higher rewatchability than Oppenheimer does. And the more and more I think about it, I'm considering putting it over Oppenheimer.
Oh, dang. For me, I have Oppenheimer probably number four. I mean,
Whoa.
I mean, here's the
Whoa.
thing. Here's the thing, man. It's still a 5-star movie, but how many times are gonna rewatch Oppenheimer?
That's what I'm saying. Like I could rewatch The Prestige tomorrow and I'd love it. Again, Oppenheimer, phenomenal, groundbreaking movie. I haven't rewatched it since I saw it twice in theaters. I haven't rewatched it since, and I
Yeah,
still remember it
exactly.
very well. And I will give it its flowers every time it's brought up. But for me, that's where it sits.
For me, Inception's my number one. I love Inception for a
Really?
passion. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Inception's
what
at my 4. So
I guess. And then number two is probably The Prestige.
hell
Being
yeah,
number number three, since I'm a Batman fan, I got by Dark Knight and then Oppenheimer.
dude. You want to hear my full 12 Nolan film ranking?
Sure, I can't do mine. I'm in seen all his films yet.
In 12, I have Following.
I
In 11, I have Dark Knight Rises.
yeah.
This is my absolute hottest movie take. In my 10th, I have Interstellar.
Ooh,
I am not an
interesting.
Interstellar fan whatsoever.
That's Interstellar for you.
Exactly. So those 3 are like the 3 Nolans I don't have any interest in going back to rewatch. Here's where they get good for me. In 9, I have Insomnia.
Insomnia. Oh wait, I
Um,
haven't seen that yet too. Okay, that's 2 Christopher Nolan movies I need to still watch. Well,
um,
three. There we go.
8, I have Tenet, which I'm a lot higher on than a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Here's the thing about Tenet. I saw this in 2020 in my movie theater. I couldn't understand a single thing. The sound design was way too loud.
That's what I've heard.
And it was so weird. It was a bizarre experience. I haven't revisited it yet. I might watch it again.
I
I'm
heard the
sure.
theater experience was terrible for that,
Oh,
and like
it was really bad.
I've I've watched it twice. It gets better upon rewatch.
Yeah.
So I think you'll like it better, but I don't
But
think you'll be as high on it as I am.
yeah.
I'm pretty high on it.
But I still love the airplane crash into the airport scene. That was
Yeah.
clever. That was fire. But
In my 7, I have The Dark Knight.
ooh, that has a hot take.
Yeah.
That's spicy there. Okay.
Yep. In my 6, I have Batman Begins.
Ooh, double hot take.
Then 5, I have Dunkirk. I think it's Nolan's most underappreciated movie.
I agree with that. The sound design of that film is incredible. The way Nolan used silence during the film and
Yeah.
just loud, that's another thing that makes you a part of the environment. I heard some complaints about this movie having no dialogue, but what do you expect? They're in war. They're not going to be talking. They're not going to have a conversation in war. I mean,
My co-host Dan to our community is known as Real Takes. He's made the comment before, and I think it's the perfect way to describe Dunkirk, is people went into Dunkirk wanting Saving Private Ryan.
yeah.
And they didn't get it, so they were disappointed. And I think if you go into it just expecting like a war movie, you're going to be very satisfied.
Yeah.
My 4, Inception. Which is the only one on this movie or on this list that I've seen one time.
You're going to do a rewatch soon?
I might. Maybe I'll start off 2025 with that. My 3 is Memento, 2 Prestige, 1 Oppenheimer.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't agree with the ranking, but I respect it though.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. And like I dropped a video on it not long ago ranking Nolan, and like people were like just I love posting about Interstellar and just shitting on that movie because like I have friends, 3 friends at least, that think Interstellar is the best movie of all time. And they aren't in like, the community like we are. So they don't watch, 200 movies a year.
Yeah.
They aren't consuming content like we are. So I mean, I can definitely understand. And like Interstellar is one of the best looking movies I've ever seen.
Oh, 100%.
My issue talking about Interstellar when I talk to people about it is I present my issues with it, and we can get into them really quick if you want, but then no one responds with like rebuttals. They just call me an idiot, or they're like, no, it's just a good movie. You just don't understand.
Yeah.
And I'm like, give me a reason to change my mind.
Yeah, that's my issue with like some fans. Like, if I disagree with some fan, I'm gonna have a reason why I disagree with your opinion, right?
Yeah.
Like movies, like it's a debate. Like you have points on why you like a movie, you have points why you don't like a movie. It should be back and forth conversation like we're having, right? It should not be like, this movie, like I don't like your opinion, your thoughts suck or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something, yeah,
Like all the people that just like stitch over one of your TikToks and be like, no, you're just an idiot. And then that's all their thoughts. Like,
yeah,
and that's why I love like podcasting and why I want to get into YouTube too, is it allows for longer conversation for us to dive
yeah,
in. I mean, we're at 50 minutes, and we're still talking about more or less one movie. We've obviously gone off the rails a little,
yeah.
but
But which is fine.
yeah, like, but we can have a very open discussion. Like, and movies is a form of art, like you and I could go and see the Mona Lisa together, and you might think it's the greatest painting of all time. And I could think, like, yeah, it's cool. I saw the Mona Lisa, but, I'm never going to think about that again. Meanwhile, we could go see Starry Night, and I think it's the greatest thing of all time. And you're just like, yeah, I'm never going to think about that again. And
Yeah.
we could just shake hands and be friends. But like, art is, open to whoever.
Exactly. Like I just came out of but before coming here, I was watching Sonic with the boys and have a great time with it. Have fun. It was fun.
Wait, what'd you see?
Sonic 3.
Oh, okay.
It was fun. I liked it. It's dumb, but it's fun. I
Yeah,
gave
I mean,
I gave it 8 out of 10.
yeah,
Entertainment wise.
I'll tell you now. Like, so the next Goodwill podcasting episode, we're doing a Christmas themed episode, and I picked the movie the night before, which
Yeah.
came out, and I think it was 2016, and it's a Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Anthony Mackie comedy movie.
Yeah.
It's very underappreciated, and I've already seen Real Takes review of it on Letterboxd. He has it at a 2.5. I have the movie at a 4-star. Like,
That's gonna be an interesting conversation.
yeah, and like a comedy is the hardest genre to discuss because comedy is very subjective. What I find funny, someone else isn't going to find funny, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of good memories with that movie from like when I first saw it. So it's going to be a fun conversation. But Dan and I are still going to respect each other at the end of the episode.
Yeah. I'm not like content creators like Dan are like the ones that we need more of because
Yeah.
Dan is a respectful dude. Like if you disagree with him, he's gonna be respectful. If you agree with him, he's gonna be respectful. I wish we had more content creators like that on the platform. Regardless, the community is great, but there's some content creators that are pretty toxic on this app. I'm not gonna name
Absolutely.
it. Star Hat Goofy. What?
Damn,
What?
just throwing shots out here.
Yeah. Anyways, man, do you want to add more to the prestige, or do you think we good?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I don't know. I mean, really what I'm thinking about right now is what were the best performances in this movie? Also, speaking of performances in this movie, I didn't realize till like 15 minutes before you and I hopped on here to discuss and I was looking at the cast, I didn't realize that was David Bowie playing Tesla.
I know, right?
Why?
He looks alright. Like he doesn't even look like David Bowie. It's crazy.
Yeah, to be fair, like when I think David Bowie, I'm thinking like pink hair and like, a stripe
Yeah.
down his face.
Oh man, bro. Speaking of this movie, the makeup and sound, like makeup in this film and costume design—that's another underrated thing about the Prestige that we didn't even talk about yet. Like since you
Yeah.
brought that up,
That and also kind of what we were just talking about, there's some good comedy in this movie too.
yeah,
Like the whole scene where he like throws the shackle onto the prison guard by using him like fumbling the ball as a distraction.
yeah,
Like there's some good comedy in this.
yeah. I mean, it's good to have a sprinkle of comedy in a serious movie because, in the end of the day, we're seeing a movie to be entertained. So having a little bit of comedy in there doesn't hurt, long as it's not forced like the recent MCU movies.
Hey man, dude, there's like few movies that I dislike more than I dislike Quantumania.
Yeah.
God, I hate that movie.
I mean, DC's looking good now.
I've said it for years that DC should be the superior franchise. They have better characters, they have better lore. They just haven't had the right execution on their movies, and it's a shame. I'm sure David Cornsweet will do well as Superman, but it's a shame that Henry Cavill could not be around for what I think is going to be DC's peak.
Yeah, I'll shout to James Gunn. Firstly, to make DC the right direction, I think he's the man for the job. I think he knows comic books well as anyone that's a comic book fan. Then there's Zack Snyder that didn't even read a comic book, or at least read one comic book and say, "Oh, maybe my characters are like this. Let's just make Batman kill people."
God, Zack Snyder is. He
I,
seems like a tool.
I mean, maybe you read the Punisher by accident. It's like, oh,
dude, and like Zack Snyder really like. I could just be a certified hater, but like I feel like he has not made that much good. Like 300 is like
it's I.
it's okay. Like for the most part, very memorable one-liner and scene. You know, this is Sparta, very memorable. But like Watchmen, for the most part, is good. But I haven't read the graphic novels or the comics that come with that, so I don't know how accurate it is. But like other than that, like dude, Rebel Moon is horrible.
Yeah,
horrible.
I mean, I did enjoy the Snyder Cut though.
Of Rebel Moon.
No.
Oh, Justice League.
Justice League, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The Snyder Cut Justice League is like some of the best comic book content we have gotten ever.
Yeah, I could have 4.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it
But
a lot. But
I hold it in the same regard as Oppenheimer.
I can't rewatch it though.
Exactly.
It's 4 hours long.
And that's my other thing too. Like everyone hates that I say that Endgame is not in my top 5 MCU. Because Endgame for me was just such a spectacle. Like it was an event in 2019. And then now I have no interest in going back to rewatch Endgame.
Yeah, like here's the thing: the movie theater, 5 out of 5. I watch at home. I don't feel any hype. I mean, I know what to expect.
Can we also, like, real quick, can we just talk about how all of that just unfolded because a random rat happened to like find its way into a van?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of
like there's plot. We could rip that movie apart if we really wanted to. I'm not
Yeah.
going to because it gave me one of the greatest experiences in the theater I've
Yeah,
ever.
100%. But Infinity War, though, I can rewatch that over and over.
Infinity War is like by far and away, in my opinion, the best MCU movie.
It's my second favorite. I got Winter Soldier over it.
I have Winter Soldier in my second.
Oh wow! I mean, only reason that Winter Soldier is because I'm a huge action buff, and the hand-to-hand fight scenes with like Winter Soldier and Captain America were so good, man.
And Winter Soldier / Bucky is my favorite MCU character.
Yeah, and they're doing him good again. Finally, in Thunderbolts, hopefully, based on a trailer, he looks back to what I want to see him as. But unfortunately, I can't watch Cat 4 because of controversy, which I cannot say.
Kind of flipping back to the Prestige. Are you a fan of Now You See Me?
I mean, I watched it and I'm like, this is like a shit version of the Prestige.
It's absolutely a worse movie than Prestige. I'm not here to discuss or disagree with you there. However, I absolutely adore Now You See Me. I think it's like such a comfort movie for me.
I mean, that's fair, but
I have so much fun with it. And number 2, even I know it's worse, but like I have a lot of fun with that one too. And I'm so excited that they're gonna do a third.
Yeah, but like here's the thing though, they kind of copy some things from like from
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like the whole water drowning thing. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of a certain movie I see.
Which is funny. I saw Now You See Me before I ever saw The Prestige.
I'm like, oh, I see this guy took inspiration from Christopher Nolan. The scene. Why is it shot so similarly too? It's like it's weird.
Absolutely.
Anyways, I think that's it. I mean, we got like an hour conversation.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Yeah.
Is this where's this go to? Is this YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or just YouTube?
Just YouTube.
Hell yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on.
No problem. I have a fun conversation with you. All right.
Yeah, it
Peace.
was a
Let
good
me
time.
care, man.
Yeah.